Hello, everybody. I'm Mallory. Below me is Ava. We are part of the Canadian Rockies Youth Network, and we're here to tell you a little bit more about the Environmental Youth Ambassadors Program. This program is designed to help you take action and make a positive impact in your environment and community. Before we kick off this meeting, we want to take a moment to appreciate the treaty land that we are on. The Biosphere, located in Canmore, is located within Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. So in the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge the Canmore area, known as Shooting at the Willows in Stoney Nakoda, and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and oral practices of the Irahe Nakoda. It's comprised of Bearspaw First Nations, Chiniki First Nation, and Wesley First Nation, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai. We acknowledge that this treaty is home to the Métis region of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge all nations that live, work, and play and help us steward this land and honor and celebrate this territory. We commit to working in right relations and to advance truth and reconciliation. So a little bit about our network. I feel like a picture is worth 1,000 words, and our logo is definitely the beginning of it. This was commissioned by us to Shay Bearspaw. She is a Indigenous artist, from the Stoney Nakoda Nation. And we asked her to create a mountainscape that depicts what creates a sense of place for her. And this is in Mount Yamnuska, is the mountain. If you're driving from Calgary into the Canadian Rockies towards Canmore, this is one of the first ranges that greet you on your right hand side. So to her, that's a symbol of home, and we feel like it was a good starting place for our network as well. So, hello, I'm Mallory. I guess my resume story is that I have a degree in geology. A rocky nerd that is always staring at rocks on hikes. I've worked for Alberta Parks in the past for a couple years as a watershed educator, and loved that and loved being on the landscape. And now I work for the Biosphere as the youth engagement coordinator. So I've been working actively on this project, which was inspired by a group of students from Central Memorial for the past year. And the real me is probably the fact that I was born and raised in the Canadian Rockies. I love it. Have stayed way too close to my mom for too long, just like a bear. And I have a communications background, but I also really love science. So kind of like a blend of it all. Yeah, if you want to learn a couple random weird facts about me, you can pause this. The Biosphere. The Biosphere Institute of the Bow Valley. It is a nonprofit organization that is, quite simply put, we want to create a funnel for behavior change. We want to empower community leadership. And of course, our core mandate is environmental issues such as climate change, wildlife connectivity, sustainability, and we really want to continue to elevate Indigenous knowledge. I'm just going to pause that video. You will have the capability to watch that video as well, I think. If not, you're more than welcome to watch this in another link on our YouTube channel. But the Canadian Rockies was created for youth by youth. Ben is one of four students that started it at Central Memorial High School, and they started by creating a summit. So it was an in-person environmental summit at the Palisades Center in Jasper. Ava, you attended that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, the first ever summit.
Yeah. And then Ava below, she also helped with this year with creating a virtual summit. But basically, the vision was inspired by the fact that youth wanted to be engaged and viewed as stakeholders in decisions affecting their mountain spaces. So if you want to watch that video from Ben, you can find the link in our YouTube channel. A little bit more. It's more than just Ben now. It's Ava. She is this year's 2021-22 youth director. She's also our first female and Indigenous director. So it's a core group of youth who organized the 2019 summit and the virtual summit last year. It's all the youth that have been attending these summits and these workshops from different communities across Alberta. And some of the core communities that we've engaged with are Jasper, Banff, Calgary, and Canmore, of course. It's our partners. So I myself work for the Biosphere Institute that have been leading this project. And then also we have a generous donor grant from the Calgary Foundation. If you want to learn more about our partners and different other incredible environmental organizations and businesses that have been involved in the network and supported the network, you can just click there. Some examples include CPAWS, the town of Banff. There's a lot of great people that have been involved in what we're doing. The goal of the Canadian Rockies Youth Network, it's to connect youth to environmental issues affecting the Canadian Rockies and give you the leadership, communication skills, resources, mentorship required for you to take action and create meaningful action projects that create a positive impact on your shared mountain spaces and your communities. So how can you be involved? This is the orientation meeting for the Environmental Youth Ambassadors Program. So you can start an action project with us. We're going to help you connect you with a mentor. We also have a student resource guide that we'll be sending you out when you sign up. And we even have small bursaries available for supplies and materials. So you just have to submit a budget along with your action project idea. There's a one-page template in the resource book. So it's pretty straightforward, and there's lots of resources to help you think through, get inspired, learn more about the Canadian Rockies if you feel like you don't have any idea of how you're going to create a positive change in your community, but you'd want to. We also will be having monthly campfire meetings led by Ava. The first meeting is going to be coming up September 13th, and this is going to be an opportunity for students and youth to share their different action projects with one another. And then we'll also be featuring different guest speakers and experts and inspiring environmental organizations that you can kind of get knowledge from. And then also we realized that the best way to get inspired and to really understand and connect with our landscape is being on the landscape. So we will be having a retreat free for anybody that has submitted an action project template to attend. It's going to be happening this fall, October 9th to 11th for 2 nights. And this will be an opportunity for students to get on the landscape, enjoy a guided hike, get outside, enjoy the beautiful fresh air. It'll be hosted at the Ribbon Creek Hostel in Kananaskis, and 2 dinners, 1 lunch, breakfasts will all be included. And then we will also have a couple land-based stewardship workshops led by Ava coming up in November, March, and May. And those are being done with Parks Canada. So we're here to talk about action projects. Why are they important? Well, it's great to understand climate change is an issue, but how do you take action on that? It can kind of like create like an overwhelming sense of eco anxiety. So you start with something simple, littering is bad. And then how do you cross that bridge and make a meaningful impact in your community? Action projects don't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as organize a trash pickup. So you're getting a group of youth together that care about a similar issue, and that is most likely going to inspire another action project from that. So think small, think of something that you care about, and think of something that you already understand is impacting your environment negatively. I love when you think about an action project, it doesn't have to be serious. I love that Albert Einstein, who is a genius, came up with this one. Play is the highest form of research. So when you're thinking about your action project and how you're going to create a meaningful impact in your community and a positive change, start about what you care about, like what you have fun doing, and go from there. If you're enjoying it, if you care about it, there's chances are that other people will be curious and engaged with what you're doing. So here's a couple words that describe what I think an action project is. I think it's learning in action. I think it's prototyping a solution you have to a problem. It's a way to meaningfully impact the Canadian Rockies landscape. I also think it adds credibility to youth. If a bunch of youth are out on the landscape creating positive changes in the community, we need to listen to them. Ava, do you want to kind of share what you think an action project is as well?
Yeah, I think just having like that connection to the landscape itself could be, an action project, and just having like the mindset, like an open mindset to be able to just create something that you're super passionate about and get out there on the landscape and be like free to learn things.
So creating, learning. So if you want to, you can click on that Jamboard link, and you can write a couple meaningful words of what an action project means to you and add to the conversation. Um, This is Adam Robb. He is the teacher behind a class at Central Memorial High School that Ava was a part of, along with all the other students that inspired the Canadian Rockies Youth Network. If you want to get a little bit more inspired and understand what an action project is, just watch that inspirational TEDx talk that Adam Robb delivers. I'll let you click on it. And then essentially, we want you to decide on an environmental issue that you care about, and we want you to think about a solution to improve it. You're not going to completely solve it, but at least you can have a positive impact and make a positive change. Little bit more of a textbook definition, but an action project is a multi-step process. You find an issue you care about, you learn about the issue and other partners that are involved. This could be an organization that's already been doing something on the issue. This could be somebody that could help you fundraise for the issue. This could be a business that's already making changes on that issue or has already led sustainable efforts on that issue, or a group of people or a group of other youth. You find potential solutions to solve it, and then you take that first step. So you take action to create a positive change. It's also a design thinking process. So it converts knowledge into action, and then you also have a timeline. So we are hoping that if you're getting started with our fall 2021 cohort, that you'll be submitting your templates by September 24th. And then you will have taken some meaningful steps to begin your action project. Whether if you're designing a poster, perhaps you've created the first draft for that poster. If you're organizing a trash cleanup or a meetup, maybe you've already had the meetup and you're on your way to creating a series of more meetups. You've just started to take those first steps by the end of the semester. So we're marking that at November 30th. And then it's also a safe way to take risks. So much we're graded on an A, B, or C scale. This is a way for you to learn all these important skills that they talk about needing on a resume, like leadership and teamwork, the ability to like write out the steps that you're going to do to achieve something, to communicate it with others. This is a way for you to learn all of that without fear of failure. The criteria for the action project, I'll let you pause the video to read all of these over a little bit more thoroughly, but you got to positively impact your community. You got to think small. You don't have to think that it needs to be the biggest, most creative solution. Some of the best projects are small and then they can evolve into something bigger, but we want you to be able to implement the first step in 6 to 10 hours. And you know what? Time is of the essence. We know you're busy and you want to get outside and enjoy the landscape. So don't feel like it needs to be huge. And then we will connect you with a mentor or an expert, or maybe some of the partners you need to make your action project possible. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you have an idea for an action project, Google it. Chances are there's probably other people out there that have created a very similar action project. Replicate those ideas that work and like modify them to work for your community or your school. And try to like think small and local once again. And then this is kind of stemming off of that third step, is engage with a community partner and share beyond your community. we are one of those people. We are a community partner. So you can share on our blog. Like we have a Take Action blog that we've just launched on our website. So you can share a blog post on there. You can even create a Instagram post and share it on our network. So how do we start taking action? Feels a little daunting at this point. There's tons of different roads to action. We as a network kind of like narrowed them down in a workshop, in workshop 3 that we have that'll be posted shortly on our YouTube channel. But we narrowed them down into 4 kind of categories. One is like art and awareness. It's incredible of like when you touch people's soul, how easy it is to get them to care about an area. So use photography, paint, whatever talents you might have, a video, a creative means to share, create awareness and educate people. A really great example of this is Rockies Repeat. They are a organization that are raising climate change awareness by filming artists that are going onto the landscape, painting plein air. So they're painting on the landscape, all of these beautiful glaciers and glacial landscapes, and they're showing how climate change is changing these landscapes. And we've actually worked with them and collaborated with them to create a youth challenge. So this is like a small action project. If you're not ready to start your own, and you're creative, this is a great way to get involved. You simply go to one of their locations. You can do this virtually as well, and you paint one of your threatened glacial landscapes, and then you can tag us and them in it on our Instagram channels, or you could just email it to us through our network, or either myself, which you'll have my email at the end of this. Policy, political action. So this is the Biosphere ourselves are nonpartisan, but putting pressure on your government and government agencies to make changes within our systems is an impactful way. And a really great organization that's done this and led campaigns to do this is CPAWS. So if you click on that link, you can get hooked up with the CPAWS letter writing campaign. Another way is think in a business sense. You can fundraise for a cause, or you can look at businesses and how they're conducting their work, and you can kind of vote with your dollar. So there's lots of different ways to create action through businesses. You could analyze a business and find a solution to make it more environmentally friendly, as lots of people have been doing. For example, Banff Isn't Disposable is an organization led by university student Luna Kawano. She noticed that there's like a lot of garbage. It has to be shipped out of Banff National Park. A lot of one waste containers, and so she created a reusable container program. So she's currently piloting that. She has a couple of different cafes and restaurants on board, and so you're able to take a container, take your takeaway, enjoy it, and then drop it off at one of the locations and have it reused. The 4th one, that's typically what a lot of people think of when they think of taking action. It's land stewardship. And so that's basically get your hands dirty. Planting willows along the side of a bank that is maybe been eroded because lots of people walk down to the lakeshore. You could organize a garbage cleanup in your community. You could even join one of our workshops if you want to kind of just get a taste of this and you're not ready to take on your own activity. In November, we're going to be doing a fence check and learn a little bit more about wildlife tracking with Parks Canada in Banff National Park. Another way to take action, you can start in the brainstorming session. So you identify some environmental concerns. So start with like a bubble and climate change, make a little circle. And then you can kind of work through different ways you could solve that problem through science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics. Or in 2021 in the spring, when we were busy planning the summit, the youth that were part of the core committee of the Canadian Rockies Youth Network, they identified some pillars of concern. So you can look at the pillars of concern and see how you could maybe make a positive impact under those. So Indigenous knowledge, wildlife and biodiversity, watersheds, sustainable development, climate change. Literally, Google climate change and action project. Google is an excellent resource for this. So, some of our examples, we had a group of youth that Ava was a part of. They got onto the landscape and they were able to connect with the landscape. And since then, they've come back and have been working on an action project. And here are a couple of their examples. Learn how to camp kit. I'm going to let Ava talk a little bit about hers, and then we'll breeze through the rest of them.
Yeah, so like what Mallory said, I did get to go on like a 7-day backpacking course. And while I was there, I was sort of picking up some gear, and I realized that it's quite a bit harder to get out on the landscape than I first thought. And things are very expensive. And so I thought to myself, like, new Canadians who are new to Canada and like want to experience what we have to offer here probably don't get the chance to discover what basically our main identity point is, which is the Rocky Mountains. So I thought we should make a new Canadian camping kit where you have like tents and camping stove and a bunch of like gear, and we can lend that out to new Canadians, and then they can take that and be able to camp safely with information that we have provided in the kit. So I've talked to a bunch of Canada Parks and got some information from them, and now I'm being connected with a bunch of other mentors with different connections just to see like what I can do with this project. Yeah.
Awesome. And where are you at? So I know that we've connected with them. We've kind of like figured out what questions you need answered from Parks Canada, who has a similar program in place, but nothing in place in Calgary and nothing in place in the Bow Valley. So what are like some of the next steps that you're taking, Eva?
The next steps, we've reached out to an organization, and we're talking about some gear possibilities for, especially because that's a big hurdle for like, especially how expensive it is. And then looking at some of like stuff that's already been written about like camping's safety, and see if I can take that and put that into the kit. And then if I do have the gear, we are going to make like a video of how to set up the tents and how to use the cooking stove properly, so people can research that before they go out in the Rockies. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, multi-step process. She's reached out to somebody to donate supplies for her kit. She'll probably have to reach out to a settlement agency, as Parks Canada advised, to connect with somebody that's going to be lending these kits out, and then also using the resources that have already been created by Parks Canada to share important information on how to camp for the first time. I love it. It's so exciting. Um, Another student, he wanted to create a code of ethics that was a little bit more inclusive. The Leave No Trace like code of ethics is great, it's well established, but it has some inherent bias. So he wants to kind of like create like a pull diverse user groups to get a more inclusive like code of ethics for recreating on the landscape. So he was inspired by the First Nations principle of thinking 7 generations ahead. Another student, she's incredibly creative, and she wanted to create a kind of an awareness campaign, but then also a fundraiser. So she noticed like kind of people's lack of connection and awareness for problems small and big. So she's going to actually look at the Canadian Rockies Youth Network pillars, such as wildlife and biodiversity, watersheds, climate change, and she's going to do a post for each of our pillars to raise awareness, and then also highlight some organizations that are doing some great work around those issues, and hopefully sell the prints to donate to some nonprofit organizations. Oh, and a great person that's already doing that is Rockies Repeat that we already mentioned. Another student, this is actually a really great example. So she started to create an action project template for a backcountry brochure. So she wanted to create a guide to camping at the headwaters of Alberta, a little bit of Indigenous knowledge that was missing from a lot of literature and interpretive information, and also highlight the importance of being a good steward of the landscape when you're recreating back there, and how it can have a positive impact on your watersheds. But She actually realized she really more than that. She really wants to start a green club at her high school. And so she's actually decided to deviate. And so she's going to offer this as an action project for one of the students that are part of her green club. Or if any of you want to take it on, we have all the materials and everything, and kind of like a step-by-step plan of how to make that possible. So if that's something that interests you, that is an action project that's waiting to have some life put into it. So you can change your mind is a beautiful thing of action projects. And another action project is a bit more policy based. A student was really interested in like how the federal government just announced that by 2035 they want to have zero emissions vehicles and lightweight trucks on the landscape. That's it. So how is this going to be achieved? And from a regional perspective, he kind of looked at the Alberta government and like things that are getting in the way with us. So he's creating a poster campaign to highlight some of the issues and barriers that we face to being a ZEV or a zero emissions vehicle province by 2035. And so he'll probably get connected with a mentor that has done this before, and we're going to help him with the printing costs associated for his postcard writing campaign. What's in it for you? You can always pause the video for a little bit more of those details. I think the big thing is a remedy to eco-anxiety. By actually taking action, you're going to kind of like cure those like depressive thoughts, like how can one person make a change? Also, once you fill out your one-page action project template and submit it to us, you can attend our Take Action weekend. So it's a weekend in Kananaskis at the Ribbon Creek High Hostel, surrounded with a group of youth that are also environmental youth ambassadors taking action, worth about $300, includes all your meals and your accommodation and all the activities that we're going to be doing, included a guided hike, access to a mentor. We can connect you with mentors and partners that can help you turn your idea into the reality, and also guidance, as well as funds for materials and supplies. We don't have huge bursaries, but we have small amounts of money to help you with printing costs, and little amounts of money to help you start buying some of the equipment, of course, needed to make that possible. And the biggest thing I think is a group of youth that also care. It can feel overwhelming. So I'll let Ava talk a little bit more about that and her experience with the Outward Bound trip.
Yeah. So because of the virtual summit that we put on, we got to go on an Outward Bound course for free, which was funded by the Biosphere, which was awesome. So we had
and Outward Bound.
And Outward Bound. Yeah. And a bunch of environmental youth ambassadors. There was 8 of us, got to go on a 7-day backpacking trip. Which was really cool. Like, I have never experienced anything like that in my life. So we hiked 40 kilometers with 50-pound packs, which was quite challenging. But while we were there, we didn't have any technology. So we were completely off the grid, and the community that we got to know was quite supportive, and we all had a bunch of like-minded ideas and wanted to help protect this, beautiful, amazing space. And it was just a really fun experience, and you got to meet a lot of new people. And I hope that we can sort of create that same mindset using the network. And that's why we want to get more people out on the landscape and doing environmental, volunteer activities, because you just get to learn more and connect better with similar like-minded youth.
Awesome. Thanks, Ava. So some of the steps to get started, it seems like a pretty exhaustive list, but if you go onto our Instagram page, it's the easiest way to get started. Sign up for the Environmental Youth Ambassadors program, and then we will send you out a booklet. You can do as much or as little of the booklet as you want. If you need a lot of inspiration and you are like, I don't even know what the issues are that are affecting the Canadian Rockies, or I don't know what a land acknowledgement is, then that you can start off with some of those journal prompts in part 1. If you're already ready, like, I have an idea, I want to make things happen, I want to take action, I want to get partnered with a mentor, I want your resources, then just fill out the one pager template. If you have a general idea of how you want to start to take action, but not really understanding the roads to action or what a partner is, then fill out our like longer template. But once you've emailed your action project template to myself, my email's listed there. You're going to get partnered with a mentor, and he can help you identify, he or she can help you or identify what their first steps, what your first steps will be. Identify your mentors, and help you like answer any questions like, how do I do this? Or how do I send an email to an organization asking if they can help with this? So you can meet virtually with your mentor and discuss your idea and track your progress throughout the fall. And then you can also check in with myself if you have any ideas or questions or uncertainties. And then we're hoping that you're taking like one actionable step by October 8th. And the deadline to submit that action project template to be part of the retreat is September 24th. So write all of those dates in your calendar. If you need more convincing, more benefits to being involved, fulfill volunteer hours if you have that requirement at your school. You can also, we'll give you a certification, the Environmental Youth Ambassador certification, which can be great on resume building. You can literally, with the certification, it lists all the different skills that you learned, and you can just take those and put them into your resume or your cover letter or your college application. Lots of perks. And I'm just going to pass over. We have a great lineup of events and good things on the horizon for the Canadian Rockies Youth Network coming this fall right now. So I'm going to pass it over to Ava, and she can just recap some of those things.
Yeah. So our first opportunity is what you're in the meeting for, which is our Environmental Youth Ambassador pilot program. So we've got mentors, resources, and maybe some funds and materials. And so next, what's coming up quick is you can join our network and our first Campfire Meeting, which is on September 13th at 4. Where it's going to be more of an open mic sort of chill night where we can discuss your action projects and you can talk to other youth and just learn from experts and just sort of get inspired to like start an action project if you haven't. And then you can participate in our land-based learning at our retreat, which is going to be October 9th to the 11th, which again, you can get in for free if you join our Youth Ambassadors pilot program. And then we also have our Banff National Park land-based stewardship workshops, which will have one in November, March, and May. And those are just going to be some volunteer opportunities. The first one is going to be a wildlife fence check. And yeah.
Awesome. Oh, and at our Campfire Meeting, Anna Sanders is going to be performing. So you can always check out the link on our YouTube channel for her performance on Earth Vampire. But if you want to see it live, you got to go to the meeting. And we're also going to have a guest speaker there. So lots of cool stuff happening at that meeting on the 13th. To register for any of this, the retreat, sign up for the network and register for the next meeting, just head over to the Instagram at Canadian_Rockies_youth_network and click on our link tree, and that'll give you the links for all of these things. Or once again, you can just scroll back and email myself if you're not an Instagram fan. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm just going to pass the mic off to Ava to see if she wants to add a little bit about why she joined the network and talk a little bit more about her vision for the network.
Yeah, so like Mallory said, I am the first ever female and Indigenous director for this network, which is super exciting. So I have been working for this network for just over a year, and I started off as like the youth representative and student outreach, which was super cool. And I got to work really close with the 3 directors that we had last year, and I got to work on the virtual summit. So how I sort of got here, I was in grade 10 and I needed to take an option. And so we had to take a class, and I found this one, and it was environmental and energy innovation. And I was like, okay, yeah, this looks pretty cool. And I signed up for it, and it ended up being my favorite class. And I took it for my entire high school career. And so in that class, it's led by Robb, which we mentioned before. And he was super cool. And we got to learn about we started action projects for our communities and with the school, and we got credits for them. And we got to learn all about landscapes and got to go on to the landscape and, get some volunteer hours. And so my first ever project was like a environmental podcast, which wasn't, it sort of flopped, which I was sort of sad about, because starting a podcast is really hard. But, it was a learning experience. I got to know what it was like. And so then Mr. Robb told me, we got to get you on a project. And so I was put on to this network as sort of like a fluke thing just to get me onto a project and see if I could finish one. And I ended up loving it. And so now I'm here working with this network, and I'm super excited. And so my sort of vision is to get more like-minded youth together and get them more people on the environment, and more people just really caring about the environment. Because I think, we're the next generation to inherit this earth. And I think we got to protect it and make it, restore it back to its natural state. Yeah.
I love that. Um, Ava, can you tell me like some of the other action projects that you've seen in the environmental energy and innovations class, just to kind of like brainstorm
Yeah.
and get the ball rolling for some of the students out there or youth out there?
Mm. We had a bunch. So we have a thrift store at our school, which is really cool. And so kids brought in a bunch of old clothes and donated them, and we sold them. And a lot of times we use that profit to fund our class and get us to go, have more opportunities to go out on the landscape and get volunteering and get working. We also have chickens in our courtyard, and my friend helped work on that one. So we have 3 chickens. And so we use the eggs and we sell them at our cafe. We also have bees in our courtyard, which was quite a long haul to get them there. I think it took about 4 years to get bees,
Oh
because
my
I
God.
guess it's, yeah, but we got them. And so we use their honey for also for sale in our little cafeteria. And then what else? We of course have the summit, which was started there. And then we have an aquaponics system and some living walls. We have like a bunch of plants in our classroom, which is really cool. And yeah, that's most of them. Those are the pretty big ones.
Awesome. And what are some of the smaller action projects that still count?
The small ones, we have like people that just sort of go out and like talk to different classes and are like, hey, this is what we're doing at our school. Do you maybe want to start an action project? We also have a community garden. And so we need someone to like run the garden and to like plant there. And then we decided to get apple trees. And so just like planting an apple tree was considered an action project. And it was really fun that day. And then I think we harvest our own potatoes. And so someone had to like look after the potatoes and make sure that they were all growing. And then we also have microgreens, which are like, just sort of tiny little plants, and we take them and we have to like, someone has to make sure that they're doing okay. And we sell them to restaurants and we make a profit from there. So they're just, tiny little things that you can do in class.
And I would love to kind of like hear your take on like one of those action projects and like how it's positively affecting the environment. Because maybe somebody can't draw like all the lines together. So,
Mm.
can I quiz you on one of them?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I really like, I mean, we know that growing your own food is good because it reduces like the the length in which we have to like our carbon footprint because we don't have to transport it as far. We might even be able to grow more local. So it might be like things that we can actually grow in our own climate, which is not a lot in the Bow Valley. Um,
Yeah.
But how about, oh, like the vintage clothing store? Like what's the impact of clothing on our environment?
So the fast fashion clothing industry is actually like terrible. And I learned this in my environmental class because I had no idea. But a lot of times, like I think it takes like what is it like a certain number of liters of water just to make like one t-shirt, and it's insane, like it's crazy. And then also like we have a bunch of like, you look at, let's say, like a third world country who are working in these terrible places to try and make a t-shirt for someone that only costs like $5, and so it's super cheap for us, but for them they're not getting paid the rightful amount that they should be paid. And a lot of times people will take the old clothes that they have and just throw them in the landfill, and that takes a long time to decompose. And so if you donate those clothes to a thrift store or to our vintage clothing store, a lot of times they'll be sold off again to different people. And last semester during COVID, I was pretty bored, so I took some clothes and I upcycled them, and so I put like patches on the jeans and made them totally different, and they sold like right away, like people loved them. So you can take these like super not so stylish clothing and turn them into something that someone really wants, and then
So
you can
you're,
sell that.
yeah, so you're saying like an action project could be as simple as like taking some clothes that you were going to throw
Yeah.
out and maybe turning them into a bag or turning them into something
Mhm.
a little bit different that makes them desirable.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Oh, and I think the only thing you've left out of that one was just the impact that a lot of those like clothing dyes and stuff like the impact your jeans or the impact the clothing. Um, you got to a lot of those dyes and like creating those fabrics
Mhm.
puts a lot of waste. And typically it's created in countries where they don't have as stringent regulations on how they are filtering that water before it goes back into the ocean or the river or the lake.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Any closing words? We're really excited to have Ava as the director of the network this year. So this will be the third year that the Canadian Rockies Youth Network is going strong.
Yeah. I'm super excited to get working this year. I am so happy. We have an amazing committee of youth that I'm really excited to get working with. Um, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I want to see what everyone has to offer for action projects and see what happens with them. And yeah.
And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, Ava, how should they do that?
Oh,
Probably through the Canadian Rockies Gmail.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
there.
Awesome. So if you want to get connected with Ava, or maybe want to be part of the core committee, and work with Ava, or even have a question, email us at canadianrockies.youthnetwork@gmail.com, and that's another way to get involved. Or head over to our Instagram page, start following us, and start an action project.
Yeah,
Talk soon. Thank you so much for joining.
thank you.